Howdy YouTube. So I bought a used X200 off eBay and I refurbished it and installed Libreboot. Well, let's see if I can get it to shut down so I can show Libreboot. And it's unfortunately glossy screen, which actually is slightly more readable on camera if it wasn't for the work light in the background. So anyways though, I guess I'll show you how I did it. Okay, so I went on eBay and unfortunately couldn't find any as-is listings, but I did manage to find a cheap used listing, and that was an auction, and I put in a bid, I think max bid of $50. As you can see, this is pretty much how it arrived. The only difference in this video is I added some memory, because even though the ad said it was going to come with 4 gigabytes, it came with a whopping 0 gigabytes of memory. So after upgrading it to 8 and seeing that it posted, I began to remove the stickers. Even though the first sticker was easy, the second one was a little bit difficult just because residue was kind of sticking to it, and I didn't want to use a blow dryer because it was on the back of the screen. I didn't want a chance damaging the panel, so I just kind of peeled off as much as I could with my hands and started to spray some WD-40. After scrubbing it for about 10 minutes, it actually turned out looking to pretty much new. So with 0 remnants of the sticker on the back, I could proceed with taking apart the Thinkpad. I got my screwdriver out and loosened all the screws, and then followed it up with a power drill. It's actually quite a tiny drill. But after that, the process was a little bit quicker, and fortunately on the X series Thinkpads, everything's clearly labeled on the back. After I got all the screws out, I could flip over the Thinkpad and remove the keyboard and mouse pad. With the keyboard and mouse pad off, I could actually remove the Windows sticker, which is the first thing you need to do when installing Libreboot, is remove the Windows Vista sticker off your X200. After I got that off, it was a lot quicker this time because I could actually heat it up. So it pretty much peeled off with a slight amount of sticky residue, and with a few wipes with the WD-40 and a cleaning rag, I had it off and looking good. After that, I was going to update the EC firmware, and I was looking around for my Windows XP drive, but I found out that the EC firmware was already the latest version. So I began my disassembly process even further and started removing the motherboard. You don't have to remove the motherboard to install Libreboot, but I would feel wrong selling something as refurbished if I didn't repaste the processor. This actually turned out to be a pointless effort though, because once I got it all open, it was already repasted and the previous owners used a copper shim. But when taking this apart, you should be a little bit careful around the express card slot because the screws actually go into the CPU heatsink on the back. You also have to remove the wireless card, and the X200 has this little separate, I guess, I don't know, maybe daughter board? I'm not quite sure what it is, but pretty much it just has all the ports and is extended with a cable to the actual motherboard. So there's also one screw on the very bottom of the X200 that you have to take out before you can remove the motherboard, but after that you can just kind of feel around with your hands a little bit to make sure there's no extra screws and remove the motherboard. This one actually did come with an extra screw. In the process of an extra screw dangling around, I think it came with a second hard drive cover screw, which albeit I sometimes lose those, so it's nice to have, but I'd prefer if it wasn't just shaking around the ThinkPad. After I got it open, I could begin the process of repasting. The CPU itself has these 3 spring screws, and the, I guess, sort of graphics chip has, well, 2 screws on both sides of the motherboard. So after that was off, I noticed the copper shim, and I repasted anyway since it was already opened. tried my best to get an even spread of thermal paste and tightened everything up so it was looking good, and made sure everything was plugged in, like the fan cables and everything else, and put it back in the system. And then I began to flash Libreboot. So I had to change the MAC address when flashing Libreboot. The first time I flashed it, well, I managed to make a ROM that didn't post somehow, which scared me. This ended up working though after I went through and just changed the MAC address correctly. I don't know what went wrong the first time, but after that I was able to put everything back together and tested if it posted. And once you got it like starting up with Libreboot and repasted, and I tried my best to put as many possible screws back into place there that this system didn't come with for that metal tab, and the end result was a Libreboot X200 with a glossy screen. So overall though, thanks for watching. I'll be listing this on eBay probably. Yeah, have a good one, and peace.